I'll try to do this without stuffing up the intro, so this could be quite interesting. All right, you
Let's
ready,
do it.
Kelvin? Okay. Hello and welcome to episode 141 of the Naked Tech Podcast. It's the show that gives you everything you need to know about consumer tech, the internet, and all things isolation. I'm your friend Jeff Kim.
My name is Kelvin Lee, and I think Apple has done it.
What have they done? They've finally done
I
it.
think, yeah, well, yeah,
They've
I
done
think
it.
we're gonna talk about it in depth in episode 141. We're gonna talk about the new Apple SE 2, Gen 2. What's the official name for it?
The official one is SE, just
Really?
SE. Yes. Not iPhone 9, not what were the other rumors?
2020? Like,
I, SE, yeah, the iPhone
mm-hmm.
SE. I don't know. iPhone the SE. Let's call it the SE. What is the SE stand for?
Small enough.
Special
I just,
enough? I think it's special
I think
edition. No.
only a company like Apple would, not tell you what it stood
Mm.
for. They're so coy about it.
Oh, but I feel like if it was one letter, like the R, that makes sense. But if it's two letters, surely it's got to be something. I think the first SE. I know you said small enough, but a lot of people are complaining that it's actually too big.
Haters gotta
If they
hate,
had
man.
the iPhone 5 and because the original SE, when was that? About
Mm-hmm.
3 years ago, 2 years ago? That was the size of the 5 and the 5S, which is a well-loved shape. We may see a return in the iPhone 12 later in the year, hopefully, if that ever happens. Um, but I don't know. It's been fairly well received from what I understand.
So today we're going to cover the iPhone SE. We're going to talk about technology related to the coronavirus, and if we have time, we'll squeeze in some working from home tips because there's a lot of news about Zoom, how insecure it is, and a whole bunch of other things that we would recommend. So we'll kick off with the
Hmm.
iPhone SE. So this came out on the 16th, which is today's the 19th. It's a Sunday. They came out 3 days ago. Um, and the biggest shocker here is the price, I would think. It's 399
Mm.
USD. So you can see here on our Twitch stream, it's 749 AUD, including GST. Comes in three colors: black, white, and product red. And I believe that they're giving a percentage of the product red proceedings to charities that would work with COVID-19 related issues.
Mm.
Um, what do you think? What do you like about it?
Well, let's talk about the colors
Yes.
because that's very Marquez.
Yes.
It's like totally like it's almost like this was the series of phones here. It's on the screen
Mm.
and on Twitch. It's like 100% Marquez,
I
is it
mean,
not?
he is there. I don't think he's very critical of Apple. I don't think he loves everything, but he is the number one
Mm.
tech YouTuber, um, and getting his endorsement and getting him to love it will mean a lot. I mean, he can reach what 2.5 million people now,
Mm.
so it's worth a shot, literally.
Yeah. And I think, the sentiments wise, yes, it's not a sexy new design or anything. It's sort of gone back in terms of the design, but that's what a SC phone is, I suppose. It's for, well, especially in this past week, they're basically saying, hey, we're gonna almost dominate this part of the market, the US $400 market, where OnePlus phones have traditionally tried to be in
No,
there.
no, I,
No,
I agree.
shaking your
I'm
head
just
there.
disappointed that the OnePlus 8 came out I think a week and a half before this, and it was going for 800 US dollars, something
Mm,
like that, and they're not going
mm,
to sell any phones if you're looking for a phone. There are other Android options, and
mm.
if you were thinking of moving from iOS to Android and looking for a cheaper option, that option is now going to be covered by the iPhone SE. Um,
I think that the biggest the win here for Apple is perhaps the the people that have been considering going to Android from iOS. So they've had, like, say, they've probably been on the iPhone 8 or 7 or even was there a 6? I can't
yeah,
even remember now.
6S.
They've been on that sort of generation of phones, and you're gonna get well, it's the same body, so it's well like these are the people that don't really care
Mm.
about all the bezels, the forehead and the chin or the touch ID. Actually, they love the touch ID, don't they? So, nothing new there. They just want a faster phone that and the battery lasts for a whole day. That's what they want, and then they're
So I
gonna
love it how you
totally get
mentioned the
this.
7 and the 8 and 11. So this is a bit of a Frankenstein phone, right? It's got the body of the 8, the processor of the 11, and the
Well,
7.
seven as well.
Yeah.
No, six actually.
I think the 7 and the 8, and the
Yeah.
camera of the 10R.
Yes, because it's a
That's right.
single lens, but also has
And,
the
but
bokeh.
no, so no Face ID, because I'm guessing that costs a fair bit. Um, and like you said, I don't think people mind. I personally, I thought the button was, it was fast. It's faster than my silly in-screen fingerprint reader with my Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus, which annoys me to hell. Um, and besides, in terms of a single lens camera, it's not gonna take bad photos. I'm gonna
Mm,
say it's gonna be up there with the
yeah.
latest Pixel or the Pixel 3a even. And I think this is gonna be a hit. There's no other phone you should buy for this price, really.
Mm, yeah. So it's not for your enthusiasts out there. It's not for the MKBHD watchers, audiences, even
Mm-hmm.
Unbox Therapy, Calvin.
Yeah, and I think
Yep.
I'm gonna jump to a little clip by Unbox Therapy, who is a YouTuber, just to talk a bit about why this is so important. But for me, if someone needs a phone right now, if it isn't working, I'm gonna go straight to the iPhone SE 2 now. If you don't really care about the latest phones, you don't care about the latest buzzwords,
Mm.
and that used to be an Android phone, so I think that's a huge shift. But let's play that clip and just hear from Unbox in terms of why this is important.
Price is number one. The camera, and I'll include the processor in there as well. The power, the computing power that's in there as well, the modernization of that component. But mostly the camera. All right, we have price, camera, and size. And that's kind of how this SE shakes out. I keep referencing the iPhone 8 as the SE because, for all intents and purposes, that's exactly what we're dealing with. Now, the downsides, they're fairly obvious. You have an antiquated look, and I'm going to keep grabbing for the 7 because I might as well, because the look is essentially the same minus the glass back.
Yeah.
Oh, I
He
love the
got really
piano music
emotional during
there.
this video because I think he's always been a strong sort of supporter for value, and he doesn't just look at the specs of a phone. And I think he's blown away by this, and so am I. Like I'm reading through the press release on the newsroom, and I just want to bring up the 4K. You can shoot 4K video on this thing, and it costs 749. You get iOS 13. You get all the editing. You
Mm,
get everything you need. Like everything else that the 11 and the Pro and provides you is just nice to haves. Um, it's not anything that would
mm.
take away your day-to-day experience.
So what piece of the pie is this? Is this would you say lower end or is it sort of mid-range? Sort of like
Yeah, I'm
low
gonna
to
say
mid, isn't
mid-range. I'm
it?
not even gonna put it up with the low, right? I mean,
Mid-range?
let's look at the store and see what else you can
Yeah.
buy at the moment. Um,
Well, I think for Apple
yeah,
it's low, but I think out of the whole market at that price, I mean it's mostly about the price, right? So if we're talking about ranges that people are going to get, Marquez, I know he had a video about the argument that this is the best phone or small phone. It's not even that small because people wanted the smaller phones, but 4.7 inch screen wise it's small, but the body wise it's still quite big. And I know at least two or three people that have sent me text messages saying why didn't they just make a smaller phone? They would have totally got
ooh,
it.
4.7 isn't big in today's standard, right? It's still really small. 4.7, like now that.
Yeah, but the because of the bezels, though, it's I think well
Mm,
the forehead and the chin, the body size is still quite
yeah. Oh
huge.
well, there is no such thing as a perfect
Yeah.
phone, right? And personally, I could never go back to a small phone, which is why I think this is a great buy for anybody. They're still, surprisingly, they're still selling the iPhone 10R for $1,000 AUD, which
Wow.
is ridiculous. I'm not quite sure why you would ever choose that over that.
It's
No,
no
it's
contest, right?
no,
No
it's not.
contest right now. Yeah.
I'm just trying to see what like the price
Mm.
difference between the SE and the 11 is $400 AUD. And in
Mm.
this current situation where most people are unemployed, or you're too worried about, you want to save some money, you wouldn't get the 11, I would think. You're not getting too much on top of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Some other negatives. I've only caught a couple of things on the YouTube world. Who's your
Dave
brother
Lee.
from another mother? Dave Lee. He was glowing about this phone. He's absolutely loved it. He had one negative though, which I didn't get to clip, but apparently there's no night mode.
You see, before night mode, we were all fine. Like I felt that the cameras on the iPhone and the post processing was good enough, right?
Mm.
How often do you get night mode triggered on your 11?
Well, I mean, it's
Yeah.
permanently mode, but because it's a
Mm.
operating system level thing, even websites, some websites default to night mode. It was one of my predictions from last year or this earlier this year, I should
Oh, you mean
say.
night mode as in like
Oh, what?
the blue filter on the screen, or are you talking about night mode as in the camera night mode?
Oh, wait, maybe he meant that. Maybe he meant the camera.
No,
But
I
isn't
think
that
it's
called
called night
something
mode.
else?
I
I
think
thought
it's
it
night mode.
meant
The camera mode is called night mode.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I made that mistake then. I only quickly watched it earlier tonight.
Because we went out
Yeah.
for a walk today, and my wife May was trying to take photos of the kids running around in low light, and night mode wouldn't trigger, which I'm guessing it wasn't dark enough. So I think the camera system in the iPhones would only ever use night mode in very, 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 very dark situations, which I was quite
Mm.
surprised by. They must have confidence in their computational power.
Yeah. Yeah, but actually, just come to think of it, I went for a bit of a bushwalk today. Not sure if I was allowed to do that or not, but anyway, there were lots of people around in my local national park. I
In
have
your
a
backyard,
national park
just
in
jump
Lane
out the
Cove.
balcony right behind you.
It's pretty much my backyard. And I took a few photos because like the scenery was actually amazing. It's like, hang on, this is only like 10 minutes drive
Mm.
away from my place. How come I didn't know about this? So it runs along Lane Cove River, which is quite beautiful. And I noticed the photos had a different
Mm.
light. Like the greens were more
Saturated?
perky green. No, but not too,
Yeah.
Samsung style oversaturated, but just, really nice. And I'm pretty sure that was a software upgrade at some point in the last,
Mm.
couple of months, because I didn't get those greens before. I mean, I had the phone
Yep.
since October.
Do you prefer it? Do you like
Yeah.
it?
So, I mean, it was. I'll probably reserve that judgment for like once I
Mm.
see it on a bigger screen and maybe once it sort of gets triggered into Google Photos and all that. But yeah, I mean, on the screen it looked quite
Yeah.
striking. Anyway, I could clearly see the difference. But I mean, we've talked about this before. That's the way it is these days. Computational photography. What is real these days? We have no idea, especially
Mm.
during COVID. We don't know what's real. We're probably in an alternate universe. Um, but yeah, I just noticed that straight away. Okay, so I got that one a little bit confused. Night mode. I thought he meant. I've been focusing on night mode a lot. Facebook has a
Yes.
new dark
That's right.
dark mode. Dark mode versus night mode. Okay.
Um,
All
I
right.
thought before we leave this Apple section, we talk about something you bought recently.
Mm.
The AirPods Pro.
Oh, okay. A
Yeah.
quick review. Brilliant. Brilliant. Just brilliant. Cost me an arm and a leg, but it was one of these one of these buys because I've been running a lot during this period as well, and there was actually one time where the left one just fell out, the AirPod that is,
That never gets old.
and, and doesn't know that's it. And I thought, hang on, I just need, well, one, it needs to fit my ear, and I think,
Mm.
I get pretty sweaty, so I think that's part of it. But also the noise cancelling is quite substantial, or like I've never used your everyday headphones with noise cancelling before, so that's a good thing, especially when you're out grocery shopping. That it's an
Yeah.
amazing
It,
difference,
it's it's it's
and I
it's
could
it's
actually
almost
hear things.
dangerous.
Yeah. I figure like when I'm running, I'll make sure I'm not in like
Yeah.
crossing the street or anything like that. But in the grocery aisles, I feel
Does it
like
have
it's
pass
okay.
through? Can you switch it on to sort of pick up the?
Yeah. So there's three modes, which is noise canceling, just normal standard listening, and pass through. On the like when you're interacting with the actual AirPod, you can only switch from noise
Mhm.
canceling to pass through. So I mean, you can use the phone to trigger the normal mode. That seems a bit boring though. So you sort of like long press
Yeah.
the stick, the
For
shorter stick.
me,
Yeah.
and my wife May just bought the Gen 2 AirPods, and she's loving it. I think it's a good segue into the work from home situation because um, I've been working remotely for the last 18 months or so, and I've been jumping a lot of Zoom calls and things like that. I've been listening to different people on Sennheisers. I've been listening to people on different headphones and things like that. The most consistent sounding, good quality voices I hear all come from the AirPods. Whether they're walking outside, they're in their cars, or they're outside. There are better sounding microphones, no doubt about it. But in terms of consistency, the
Mm,
AirPods are actually a really good set of earphones to get if you're currently working from home. You've got a MacBook and you want to hook it up, and it's
yeah.
simple, and the simplicity in getting that synced up to your phone, your iPad, or your MacBook is something else, right?
Yeah, the only issue I've had with the Gen 2 AirPods that I had before this, syncing with the
Mm,
watch, like that sometimes that's a bit, and it could be because I have an older Series 3 watch. That's probably my next purchase, Series 6 when that comes out later in the year. But yeah, that could be a bit iffy. So yeah, I think that's a good segue. Should we talk about the current
yeah, let's
situation
do
we're
it.
all in? Most of us are in. Um, Working from home. This is the title of the segment, I guess. This could probably be a ongoing
Yeah, I
segment, to
think
be
I think it's going to
honest.
be for a while. I think we're all going to be in this stuck in this situation for at least 6 months. We
Mm,
might as well, you know, talk about it.
yeah, yeah. So we're just gonna touch on the Zoom situation. So Zoom, I knew about it. I never tried it before.
I was on
You
a
probably knew
program,
about it,
yeah,
Kelvin. You okay through
through my
your
old workplace,
work,
yeah.
yeah? Yes. Okay, so Zoom.us had seen that a couple of times. Now that was blocked. Like if a external agency set up
Mm.
some call with us at work through the network, that wouldn't work. So we never really got to try it. But however, everyone basically overnight decided to work from home all around the world. So I think before, say, mid-February, they had a user base of 10 million. The week after, they pretty much shot up to 200 million active monthly
Good luck to their
users.
IT guys.
That is 2,000. That's an interesting point because I have a clip from the CEO that we can play. So let's go through these clips. Now, how do I do this? Okay, so obviously there've been a few security concerns, and I think to be fair, I think it's just a natural thing for them because they were predominantly a commercial or like a enterprise level product. Wasn't really designed for consumer stuff. But like even university classes, schoolroom classes, when they had to be all remote, everyone decided to go with this. A couple of reasons for this. I mean, the main reason is it's very convenient. Like all you had to do, like even from WhatsApp, someone just sends you a link, you tap that link, and you just open up a, either a web interface. Actually, is there a web
There
interface?
is.
I think there is, or you get directed to download the app, which is very quick. And I think there's deep linking as well. So this was the obviously the easiest solution. Um, some of the other problems, after the first couple of weeks was Zoom bombing, which basically meant that people were just like joining in on your calls, sharing their private parts, let's just
Yeah,
say,
but people
just
need
for
to know how
fun.
to lock their
Mm,
rooms down, and I think that's a people will now know.
yeah. Also, people like Elon Musk just shut it down through, you know, SpaceX and Tesla. Let's just not use Zoom anymore. I think
Hmm.
Google did the same thing. Now I've got The Verge here. They're also working from home, so I think this one, I think the sound quality is not as good, but here is The Verge asking the big question here.
These are just a couple of Zoom's privacy and security issues. So, why are people still using this app? You can have an unlimited number of meetings, and up to 100 people can chat for free at a time.
Yeah, so obviously convenience is a big factor here. Like if you can join in with 100 people just like that, and it's
For
free, although I
40
think there's a
minutes.
time limit for free accounts. Yeah, but that's just, there's no barrier to entry. I can probably talk to you about like the trouble I had because like, when I was hearing about these things with Zoom, I said, hey, let's just go with Google Hangouts, even for social calls, right? The amount of issues. So I'm dealing with a bunch of, middle-aged, like if you talk about my school friends, it's like, oh, like, why does it take me to Google or Gmail log on? It was it was amazing, amazing. I could probably write a book about all the responses I've got when I
So,
suggest
which
Google
is why I
Hangouts.
think that's the other thing. Zoom is really easy to use, and the amount
Mm,
of features they
yeah,
give you,
totally.
and
Mm,
it's not just for like beginners. There are a lot of features there for power users as well. And we can talk about some of the advanced
mm,
features because I've been in meetings with 300 people on Zoom, and how we split them into rooms and things like that. It's super impressive stuff.
mm. No, so I've got Eric Yuan, which is on who was on Emily Chang's Bloomberg show. So bear in mind, everyone's at home, and it kind of sounds like they're on
It's
Skype, which
funny.
is kind of weird. But Emily Chang is gonna ask the question that we've all been wanting to ask.
What do you want to say to some of these folks?
I think Zoom was built for serving the enterprise business customer before this crisis, and we learned right for the first time in the consumers, and they do not have IT team. We should do more. Not only do we offer the service, but also give them a very strict security and controls, like make the password or waiting room default.
So Eric, obviously,
Yeah.
he's a Chinese immigrant settled in the Bay Area, and he's done, I reckon, pretty well by setting up this company, and you know what I mean. What he's saying that is, yeah, it was an enterprise company, so he kind of relied on IT services to
Mhm.
set these meetings up. I think that's what he's saying. I don't know if that's how you interpret it. And obviously, yeah, if you're a uni student, you don't really have an
So
IT
that's the
team
other thing
helping
as well.
you.
The biggest difference between, and we're talking on Skype right now, is
Hmm.
when you first launch Zoom, you get all these features that just come up on the bottom.
Yeah.
So all these, there are a lot of options to pick. You could pick the wrong one, and I can totally see why people would get confused there. But I'm super interested to
Mm.
hear about the bandwidth issues that they're probably experiencing as well. But a little bit about him. He was ex Cisco. He used to work in the WebEx team. And the reason why he came out with this
Ah.
tech was because he was trying to talk to his long. I think he was in a long distance relationship or something with his wife, and he wanted something a lot simpler than WebEx, which is another option, by the way, run by the
Mm.
networking mega company that is Cisco.
Yeah. So I think it's worthwhile talking about some of those alternatives. But before we do that, since a lot of this have come to light with Zoom security concerns, they have actually done a few things. So, credit to them. Um, so I've got a Forbes article here, but I'll just list some of them. So they they put a security option in the product.
Option.
So it's a new thing. Security thing is a new thing for them. Now this allows hosts of the meetings to remove participants or more easily remove participants. There's going to be a waiting room by default. So waiting room is
Yeah.
like the lobby area for like I think in Teams and other like Skype as well. So like if a room is full or has gotten to a certain limit, then you can allow people to come in sort of in dribs and drabs. Um, Now the big thing about the ease of use here was just you just had to click on a link to get there, and that meeting ID is actually part of that link. So this is how people were finding all these ways to Zoom bomb. So the meeting IDs are more difficult to find. So if you're like the average person, you're not going to be able to like just share that on your social medias or what have you to get other people to join. So they've sort of done this very quickly, and I believe Eric's been quoted saying that basically all the work they're doing right now is focused on security. So all the backlog items, like a good product owner, this is important for the company. Um, yeah. Having said that, I'm sort of banning Zoom altogether. So
Oh,
if someone asks me to go on Zoom,
so
I say no.
why?
There are plenty of alternatives. Well, I think probably less so this week. Um, after I've sort of researched a little bit about them, but I think before that, I just, yeah, I mean, the FBI were getting involved. They were sharing information to Facebook somehow, and there was a bit of
No.
a data leak. So it just felt like a bit of a dodgy company, but I think I understand it now. They're, legitimate. But I think, user experience wise, a lot of other alternatives are catching up. So this is sort of the big race for all these conferencing companies. Let's just talk about some of those alternatives. What's your
Well, we're
favorite,
on
Kelvin?
Skype, so I think Skype has. I mean, Skype is the first one, and Skype is consumer driven. They've done this for a number of years now. So, for us to run the podcast of it, I feel like because it's a Microsoft company, we can depend on it, and it's got really cool features
Mm,
like, the fact that we can stream live on Twitch is because they have a feature called NDI, and that allows content creators like ourselves to record it and stream it. Um, I do one to one on WhatsApp because I don't have access to FaceTime because I'm on an Android device. So for me, WhatsApp is doing really well. It's been a while since I tried the
mm.
Facebook Messenger video, but that hasn't failed on me in the past either. Um, what about you?
So there's probably like a couple of categories here. So work-wise, I'm a big fan of Microsoft Teams. So a lot of this Skype features, the base features have gone into Teams, but like user experience, just even stability, even the background blur, which is on Skype as well now, I really enjoy. And the good thing about Teams is that it's kind of your Slack, it's your comms, the way to communicate with your own team. It's a bit of everything. You can have OneNote. You could bring in your 365 documents. So yeah, Teams is sort of the I don't know, the holy grail for working inside a big organization maybe. But really liking Teams. Hangouts, I think um, I think they've rebranded recently as well. But Hangouts is kind of simple enough. Um, it's just video and that's it. I know they used to have a lot more features back in the day. I haven't tried this yet, but Amazon has a product
Oh,
called
I
Chime.
have.
That's oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I get it, I
So
get it. Yeah,
yeah, yeah. I wouldn't rank it
no,
highly at the moment.
but it's a free product, isn't it?
Yeah, and it shows.
Okay.
I think you're like you said, right? Like the Microsofts of the world have been doing this for a very long time, and I believe Amazon's had this product for a very long time as well. But they've got a bit of catching up to do, and I don't think anyone. It's not a surprise to anybody.
Mm. Okay. So other things that I've enjoyed, like from a more social point of view, House Party is probably my favorite. Again, low barrier to entry, but like it's all based on your social connection. So
Is that phone only?
um,
House party?
no, there's you can do it over the web or you can download the app. So I haven't tried this yet, but apparently on your Mac OS, you can have like once you install the app, sometimes when you use video conferencing on the web, you're just kind of stuck with that browser, right? You can't do
Mm.
anything else. But if you have an app that you've downloaded, then I think how does that the head bubble thing work in Messenger, or is it chat on Android? It's a bit like that apparently.
Okay, okay. It's like the
Yeah,
bubblehead.
the bubble heads, yeah. And I rate Facebook Messenger as well.
Yeah,
They
it's
have built-in games and things like that.
yeah. You and I use Facebook Messenger as our messenger of choice.
Mm,
It doesn't need a phone number, which is annoying. So yeah, for me, my main messaging platforms choice is WhatsApp and Facebook and Telegram. I guess I used to use that a lot for my previous workplace. So a lot of Telegram because it's very very secure.
mm,
So a lot of options for you out there. Just try a couple. if Microsoft is the way to go for you, maybe consider getting an Office 365 account, and I think it's more worth your while for sure.
Mm. Now we're most likely over time, but we should probably talk about all the tracking that's going to happen in the next couple of months.
Yeah, it's twofold. I mean, we can talk about the app that everyone is freaking out about, but I thought maybe we jump to Facebook because
Okay.
if I see another post about, like my mom is putting onions in my house because someone told them it was going to cure coronavirus, like this is weird. People are believing all this rubbish on Facebook. I did find a pretty dry CNN interview with Mark Zuckerberg and his wife, and these clips are quite long, but I want you to just get a vibe and a tone of how Zuckerberg responds to these questions and how he says them. So the first one is Facebook COVID Center CNN interview.
Yeah, so I think one of the most important functions that Facebook and our apps can do right now is help connect people with authoritative health information and experts, and at the same time to limit the spread of misinformation. So on the work that we're doing to connect people with authoritative health information, we've actually directed more than 2 billion people to this COVID-19 information center that we built, that we put at the top of the Facebook app for everyone, and through these educational pop-ups that we've put throughout the product. If you go search for information, or if you show up in a group, for example. And of the 2 billion people that we've shown that to, more than 350 million people have clicked through and spent some time on the COVID Information Center. So that is valuable. It's showing information from health experts, from local government officials. It's high quality content.
About
Yeah, thank
15%. Just trying to, yeah.
Live math. Welcome to live math on Twitch.
Okay, 17, sorry, 17.
Have you seen this? I'm not sure if it's just my brain, but every time I go to, whether it be BBC or Guardian or Facebook or Twitter, I skip the COVID like warning signs and messages and look here and click here. YouTube has it as well. Have you seen the Facebook COVID? I haven't been. I'm going to go to it now.
I've seen the pop-up, but I haven't clicked on it, so I'm one of the 1.65 billion that haven't clicked on it. I don't know. I think, yeah, like you said, all companies do it. All big companies do it. So, so what sort of thing?
Yeah. So I'm looking at it right now. On the top, it gives you the latest numbers. I feel like this is one of the most data-driven sort of world crises like I've ever seen ever. We're at 2.3 million confirmed cases, and it just talks about different news items. It's very messy though. Not sure if you can see.
It's just Facebook.
Yeah. They obviously put this together
It's a
really
Facebook
quickly.
feed,
Like, what is happening here? They've got a section called "People Requesting Help," and you scroll left to right on a little box here. It's just very, very.
Maybe you can help them, Kelvin, by seeing that on the corner there.
It's really like from a user experience perspective, it's horrible. But what can they do? Like these things, this misinformation, the misinformation that is going around is spreading so quickly. So what is Facebook going to do about it? I had to split up his long interview into 2 clips. So this one is going to run for about a minute. Let's hear what Facebook's been doing.
Sure that we limit the spread of misinformation. And there are 2 basic policies that we have. One is if someone's spreading something that puts people at imminent risk of physical harm, then we take that down. We don't allow that on Facebook at all. So, for example, some people are trying to spread these complete hoaxes, like, if you want to cure coronavirus, drink bleach, right? Obviously, that's a disaster. That's false and that's dangerous. So, if someone tries to share that, we'll just take that down. And there have been a lot of pieces of content like that we've taken down. There are also other misinformation that may not lead to imminent risk of physical harm, but still isn't the type of stuff we want to be spreading through our system. And there we work with independent fact checkers. And so far during this crisis, those fact checkers have marked 4,000 pieces of content, individual articles false, which has led to us showing warning labels to
more than 40 million times across our products when people come across something that's false. And the warning labels work. We know that because 95% of the time, when someone sees a piece of information that has a fact check on it, they don't go through and consume that information. So
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah, they
do
don't.
it.
So what they do is they put a little symbol that it could be fake.
But what does it say? Fact, like what it like to me that sounds like it has been fact checked.
Yeah, yeah. So it has been fact checked, but they can't take it down because it doesn't pose imminent harm to someone.
So they think
They
it's
think it's false,
false.
but they can't take it down. So they
But
put a
like
little. This could be.
yeah, but I think
Yeah.
oh,
So
okay. But to me, if I saw a sign saying this has been fact checked, I feel like that's a indication that they think it's
yeah.
actually
So that's
true.
the issue. I think there is a warning label there, and
Okay.
but they can't take it down because it doesn't pose imminent harm. Is basically Zuck's
Mm.
way of saying, hey, freedom of speech, baby, on Facebook, and we can't take it down because hey, it's not killing anyone until it actually does.
Mm. This is not going to do anything because you know where all this information is being
WhatsApp.
spread. WhatsApp, that's right. Which is owned by
The
Facebook.
amount of crap,
I have not seen a yeah, oh my God.
it's
Yeah.
unbelievable. Um,
I feel like they should just like blanket.
sure that
Oh,
we
sorry. Just putting my beer down there. I accidentally played the clip. What was I going to say? I feel like they should just blanket limit the act of sharing articles on WhatsApp right
so
now.
it's beyond that now. I'm getting copy and pasted um, sort of excerpts from articles. So not even just links. It's just like people are copy and pasting text and then they misinterpret that.
Yeah, they don't know how to
They
share
don't.
articles. They don't know how to share
And
URLs. Yeah.
screenshots of the article. Uh,
Yeah.
so, and it's what's really funny is I got this TikTok video of someone, it's a joke, right? He was spraying.
You're on TikTok?
Yeah, I'm on TikTok. It's a long story, but someone sent me a TikTok video on WhatsApp going, "Oh, don't use hand sanitizer in the car because the car will explode." And then they're sharing this TikTok video, but this TikTok video was designed to be a joke. So unfortunately, you have a lot of people out there who are of the older population who may not understand what TikTok is. It's practically a joke site, and they're spreading this. So I feel for people who are unknowingly misinterpreting what is parody and what is real and what is not. And I don't know how Facebook's going to get around this.
Well, if it's WhatsApp, TikTok, I'm not sure, but WhatsApp, they can definitely do something about it.
Shut it down. They can't though. It's copying
I
pasting text,
mean,
right? Unless they mine the text.
okay, so I think the mindset of most people is that WhatsApp is a messaging service, but it's still going through the same servers as Facebook.
Yeah.
It's not like we think, email or Gmail is somehow private. And you showed me an example of, what was it? Ads for House Party.
Yes.
Just because we're talking about House Party, got ads for House Party. But yes, so that's
Yeah.
kind of like been going on for
Yeah,
20
totally.
years.
But because of the amount of people on WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger and the amount of different ways you can spread misinformation, whether it be GIFs, videos, copy and pasting, links, I just don't know. No AI in the world is going to be well honed enough to not be a real screw up. Like they could overdo it.
Isn't it the same technology?
Yeah.
Isn't it the same technology? I mean, it's private, yeah. It's more private than the private stuff that you share to your friends on Facebook. You could argue there's an argument for that for sure. But I think they're not saying this because they don't want to get there because people will freak out. It's like, oh my God, you're going through our messages? Of course they're going through your
But there's a
messages.
belief that WhatsApp is end-to-end encrypted, right? Facebook is not meant to be able to see what's in WhatsApp. Whereas Facebook Messenger is different. You and I were chatting to Facebook Messenger now.
Could you run the algos through in the middle? Even though if it's end-to-end encrypted, yes, but couldn't you sort of run some algo, or because it's end-to-end, no, it doesn't work. Okay.
So that's why I'm saying the tools are the issue. Are a cause of, not the cause of the issue, but they're transferring the issue. But we've got to train people somehow, man. There has to be a better way, regardless of whether it's coronavirus or a war that's happening somewhere or racism, etc., etc. People have got to find a way to self-educate, or we have to find a way to train people to just know how to stop spreading this stuff, and it's going to be difficult.
Well, this is a great segue, Kelvin, to get people to be trained up on how the internet works in general.
That's right.
Because you are going to get asked to download an app and you will probably do it. Well, okay, maybe not everyone, but a certain percentage of the population will just do it. Now, I've got Nine News talking about this COVID Trace app, which is something I think on the back of the Singapore situation. And they did pretty well. I think I don't know if there's a second wave at the moment in Singapore, but they did fairly well based on the SARS outbreak of 2017. Okay, I have no idea what year, but here's Nine News talking about this app.
The Prime Minister has ruled out forcing Australians to sign up for the government's coronavirus tracking app. To be effective, 40% of us need to download it, but new research shows other countries have struggled to get close to that.
Yeah, so one of those other countries is actually Singapore. So 40% is what they're aiming for. So what's our population? 27. Okay, some live maths again. We need about 12 million people to download this app for this to be effective. Is the message that the government is trying to tell us? You're shaking your head there. Like, do you have a prediction in terms of what this will be? Because this could come out as soon as next week.
No one,
in the
no
coming
one's
week.
Gonna do it.
No one's going to do it. 0%.
No, I don't. Like in terms of a percentage, I say 15, 20.
I think just having chatted to certain people, I feel like most people would at least think about it. I don't know if they'll actually go ahead and do it, but like they seem to tell me that yes, that this is a good thing. This is going to help. So why not? Whether they'll actually do it or not is another matter.
I think it's a good thing, but I wouldn't.
Now, there you go. And it's 100% voluntary. Now, the rest of the clip from Nine News is going to talk about what's happened with some of the other countries.
Global consultant Carney modelled 17 countries using similar apps, like Singapore and Israel. It found at best only a 20 to 25% voluntary take-up by smartphone users.
So if I was a betting man, Kelvin, I think 15% is probably the right number for Australia, I feel like.
Yeah, but also I'm sure they've taken this into consideration, but Singapore politically and geographically is a very different country to Australia. The chance of community transmission is a lot higher in Singapore because it's so crowded and the population, the housing there is so dense. So I can see this being helpful, but for a country like Australia, like we're quite spread out, especially the non-eastern states. Even if we're going to probably need even more people signing up, 70-80%.
Well, let's just talk about what the app is trying to do, right? So this is about digitizing the act of contact tracing, which happens right now, which is basically, you probably heard about the Ruby Princess, where if someone's found to be positive, they'll actually retrace their steps to figure out who they've been in contact with, who else is possibly infected, that sort of stuff. So yes, we all have this traceable thing in our pockets. So yes, in theory, this is the right thing to do, to digitize that element of fighting against the disease. Now, this is Australia. However, Google and Apple are teaming up for possibly the very first time. I can't think of another precedence to this, unless you can, Kelvin. Did they ever do anything together? I don't think so. This is
for sure.
That's right. So they're working on an API, but also a way to roll this out through their operating system updates, which to me is a little bit scary because you're gonna just get it automatically. But I think it's worthwhile to actually break this down. So I've looked into this, Kelvin. Not sure how much you're aware of, but okay. So for now, we know that Apple and Google are working together to come up with some way for these apps to work, efficiently, and like basically 80% of the world, that's like 4 billion people are either using iOS or Android, right? So that they like literally have the biggest reach of any two companies in the world right now. So I have The Verge here, and obviously they're working from home, but this is well produced. And I can't remember this bloke's name, but he's pretty good. He's going to talk about the underlying technology behind what's going to happen.
The system works by blasting out short codes over Bluetooth, technically the Bluetooth Low Energy Beacon system. Your phone collects a log of all the codes you've received, representing all the people who have been close enough to infect you. Those codes are encrypted and constantly changing, so you can't use them to work back to a person's identity. Even if someone does test positive and decides to share that diagnosis, it's still pretty hard to figure out who the person is, although it's not completely impossible. More importantly, the codes you collect never leave your phone, so there's no master list of who's interacted with who.
Okay, there's a few things there. So this is not actually about location data.
No.
This is about who you've been in contact with. So I think that's the one thing that I've sort of gained knowledge of. So I thought it was about tracking your location and mapping that against other people's other location data, right? So this is actually no. So if you're at home, the only thing that you're going to be tracked against is if your neighbor, and especially if you're in an apartment situation like I am, and yourself as well, Kelvin. So if your neighbor happens to be 15 meters away, you will get some sort of alert if your neighbor has tested positive. Now, there's a few steps for you to know that, right? So because we're using the app here, like if someone is suspected of, if they feel ill, they have to actually test themselves, right? So they have to test themselves, and you have to voluntarily say, I'm positive on the app.
Yeah.
So that I think there's a barrier to entry even there, right? So why would you?
Why would I tell
if
the
you
world?
found like why would I want to? Why am I going to tell the world, right? So that maybe like you can say that's 50% of people who actually test positive will say so on the app. So 50% of the 15%. Then I guess you yourself have to be using the app to know this, because like if it's 15 meters away, like doesn't matter if there's a wall in between, right? You're still going to be tagged. And these codes are apparently encrypted. So obviously if you want to get really deep down into the security stuff, then these things are going to be changing all the time, but it's going to be somehow mapped to some super key somewhere. Also, initially they're going to do this via API. So other apps like the COVID Trace app in Australia can utilize this API at some point. They're not going to do it initially, but say I think mid-May is when they're going to come up with the APIs. They can utilize that API to. You would think there's a greater chance of. I always struggle to say this word, interoperability.
You did it
How
well.
do you say that? Interoperability.
Yeah. Here you go.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Oh, there you go. That's. I've always struggled with that word. I don't know why. But however, the OS level stuff, which the guy talked about on The Verge, is actually probably a couple of months away, and which is actually using the Bluetooth low energy stuff.
I watched this really interesting documentary about the people who have gotten well in China from COVID and how they're being ostracized by their workmates and relatives. So the what you said about telling people that I'm positive. People haven't thought about how, if I ran into a friend who I know had COVID-19, would I treat him differently? Who knows, right? The other thing is the fear factor, right? Because they're going to tell you that you were in the proximity of someone who had COVID. They're not going to tell you it's your neighbor. They're not going to tell you it's your doctor. So how do you control that?
Actually, no. In that case, no. The on your phone, and I think he did say in the clip there that it's all on device. So on device, because you are most likely 15. You are less than 15 meters away for longer than 15 minutes. I think that's the rule.
Right. So you mean I have to be in real time in proximity of that person?
Yeah. For that code to match.
Not so much
so you have a code. You have a code. Your neighbor has a code, or whoever the phone has a code.
I thought this was
really
about contact tracing, so they could contact you if they found echo of your Bluetooth ID.
No, no one's going to be contacting you. You get contacted
So
yourself. So
if
this
I'm
is
standing in
all,
the shopping center
yeah.
and it goes beep 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 beep
Yeah.
beep, like one of those really bad movies where there's a proximity of a bomb nearby, I run for the car.
Okay, so it's not really about who's next to you in real time, but there's a record of you being next to some person. Later on, if that person that was next to you was found to be positive, then later on you'll get alerted.
Oh, so there's a delay. So if I'm in the lift with this guy who's COVID positive, my phone doesn't go off.
Actually, I don't know if that person is positive. I guess that it'll alert you in real time as well. Yeah. If you've been if you're stuck in an elevator for 15 minutes.
Right. So I think this is what happens. In my mind,
yeah.
I have obviously haven't read. I think if you're stuck in a place for more than 15 minutes, you get pinged, I think.
That's right.
Got you.
Yeah, but if your neighbors, it's gonna be the whole time, right?
Yeah.
So you're immediately because your bedrooms might be right next to each other, and if you have your phone in your room, 99% of the people, then you're gonna be pinged. You're gonna be mapped. At least they're gonna have your code, you're gonna have his code.
I love
so forth.
that. I mean, in the sense that I'm glad we spoke about it, because now I kind of figure out how it works, and I feel a bit more comfortable downloading it. Strangely. Maybe.
I'm still 50-50. Probably more 10-90. Here's a funny little clip from TechLinked. And
questions remain about.
Sorry, they're gonna talk about the many the many steps you need for this to work.
But whether Bluetooth contact tracing will even work at all. Because once the API is actually completed, it will have to be integrated into apps downloaded by people who will also have to update their phones to make it work. And assuming the false positive rate isn't through the roof, users potentially exposed to infected people will have to get tested for COVID.
Was he going through puberty? Is his voice breaking? Well.
I believe so. Yeah.
Oh god.
No, so once you get pinged, it's up to you to get tested. No one's going to tell you to get tested. You have to. I mean, I guess this is the gray area between how the government's going to control this, but as it is now, once you get pinged, okay, well, maybe I should get tested, because you don't know if it's your neighbor or the person that you walk past looking through stuff in the grocery store in the same aisle for 15 minutes for some reason.
I'm
probably in the queue to get into IKEA.
Yeah, or Bunnings.
Yeah. I couldn't find eggs this morning. Terrible.
I got mine from Aldi.
Oh, you have an Aldi.
You miss Aldi, don't you? Before we get talking about chicken and duck eggs, I think it's time to end the show. Anything else?
I have one clip from Bill Gates.
Of course.
Can I play it?
From Dr. Gates.
And you might have to put on your tinfoil hat a little bit, but Bill Gates. Okay, let me set it up. This is Trevor Noah's show. What is it? Daily Show. And of course, he's at home. And it was actually an interview with Bill Gates and Satya Nadella.
Awkward.
And both of them, they looked terrific because they were using Teams, I think. The background blur, Trevor's feed was horrible. It was the same bad sound quality and everything, whereas Bill Gates and Satya were amazing. Anyway, Bill Gates, who famously predicted this in 2015 in a TED Talk. Maybe he's going to have another prediction.
Ooh.
You predicted this pandemic almost to a T. Is there anything else you want to warn us about now that we should be looking forward to? Is there anything else that keeps you up at night?
Well, this is a naturally caused epidemic. And as bad as it is, it looks, if you have reasonable treatment, to have a 1% fatality. There could be epidemics that are worse than that, including ones that aren't naturally caused, that are a form of bioterrorism.
Yeah, so that's happening. That's lock it in. Bioterrorism is happening in the next 10 years.
Oh,
Bill Gates said so.
Crap. Oh, I wish we didn't end the show on that. Ugh. Now I'm thinking about bioterrorism. Great. But
this is just a setup for the real thing, Kelvin.
I know. Start, digging the hole for my bunker, I guess. on that very end of the world tone and theme, thank you for listening to the Naked Tech Podcast. You can find everything on our website, thenakedtechpodcast.com. Please reach out to us on social media, to tell us what you think. Leave us a like, leave us some stars, anything you think that would help the show. Let us know what you think. Let us know what you want to cover. Stay safe. That's Kelv out.
And Jeff out. Hopefully we're still on Wooshka.
No, I think it needs 1,000 hits right before they start charging 1,000 listeners or something.
But how come they sent us the email then?
Because I don't know, man. They don't have the data.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop the stream. Thank you for everyone listening to this.